think we're live. I think I'm early, but I think we're live.
I believe you are, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we are. We're early. I do believe. I'm sorry about that. We're at least a minute and a half early. Is that right? But I'm checking with Michelle. Michelle, are we live actually?
I was sharing it.
You are live.
So yes, we are live.
Thanks, Al. I'm no good at this stuff. You all know I'm no good at this stuff, so I don't even have to pretend that I'm good at it because I'm simply no good at it. As you can see, I'm in the pink this morning. Good morning, everyone. And first of all, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Gregel, who is by my side here. I would like to say good morning to Michelle, who is actually in front of me this morning. Say good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
And we'd also like to say good morning to Al. Good morning, Al.
Good morning.
Now, Al is going to be on and off with us today, right, Al? Because he's got things to do. He's got builders and people and all sorts of things. So Michelle will be asking the questions today, and Al will chip in from time to time if he feels like it. But we also, let me say, we also have my little boy here. We have Cachorro, who is sitting on the sofa with me. It could, yes, darling, say good morning. Yes, and it could actually be that before the end of the show, he will be climbing onto my knee, shaking and trembling because there are storms afoot. And we've already had thunder this morning. I want to make sure I've got my phone on. We already had storms this morning and, you know, all that sort of thing. So what do I have to tell you all today? I'm not even sure. I've not even thought about it. We've just sort of, you know, this is what live means. We come on. We don't actually have any preconceived ideas of what it is that we're going to do. And I certainly don't have any preconceived ideas of what it is we're going to talk about. Here comes the thunder. My puppy is getting ready to leap onto my lap. So it could be one of those interesting mornings this morning. Right. I do want to ask Michelle, do we have anybody watching today?
We do. We have right now. We have 5 people on with us.
Okay, great. All right. So, so here we go. So, yes, baby, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And we're going to try and ignore the thunder and the lightning, aren't we, honey bun? Yes, we are. But look how well he's doing. He's doing really, really well. We did have a scare this week with my daughter's puppy, Piper, because she was very, very sick this week. And she's also fairly old and she's got a bit of dementia and so on. So it was a bit of touch and go. But this morning she's bounced right back again, as, you know, as they do. Kachura's bounced right back. And I'm sorry, you're all going to have to put up with and it's not me, it's my puppy. So, but he can't help it. He gets like this when storms are afoot. Do we have any questions, Michelle, this morning?
Well, we have one from Denise that we wanted to touch more on.
Yes. All right. So it was either last week or the week before. We had Denise who wanted to know, can we heal ourselves, as it says in the Bible that we can? And apparently we touched on it, but she's asking if we can talk a little bit more about it. So Denise, this is just for you, my darling. You know, the mind is a very powerful thing. I can remember, and I might have told this story before, I can remember years ago, I was in a doctor's office, and I'm one of those people who, I don't go to the doctor unless I absolutely have to. And even when I absolutely have to, I fight it every step of the way. Because why? Why am I like that? Because I just feel that, you know, having been sick many, many years ago, and been very, very sick, it's sort of not one of those places I really enjoy going. And it's sort of, I would rather avoid, which is a bit silly, really, because sometimes the medical profession can help us. And in fact, if it weren't for the medical profession, I wouldn't be sitting here chatting to you. But I do believe that, you know, the power of the mind is a tremendous, tremendous thing. And I remember being in the doctor's office and he was telling me about a patient of his, in fact, a couple of patients of his. And one of these patients, his wife had died. and he had something like, I don't know, 6 kids or even more kids than 6. Anyway, he had several children, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and he was told, you know, you've got less than a year to live, get your house in order, get things, you know, sorted out. And he looked at the doctor, and he sort of looked the doctor right in the eye, and he said, well, I'm sorry, but I can't die. I'm too busy. I've got all these kids to deal with. They don't have a mother, and I'm blowed if they're going to lose a father. And I mean, 15 years later, he was still going strong. Whereas there's another story about a person who went to the doctor, and he was told that he got stomach cancer and that he'd got months to live. This is a true story, and I happen to know the person who this happened to, and he was told he got months to live, and sure enough, he was in bed, he was dying, he was, you know, it was sort of, he'd lost all the weight, had all the symptoms, etc., etc., and then one day, sort of, not quite, you know, let's say he was given 8 months to live, and that sort of somewhere around the 7-month mark, the doctor came to the house and very sheepishly said to this man's wife, I need to talk to you and your husband. And he said, there's been a mistake. He said, we have 2 patients with the same name. You are one, and then there's the other. He said, and somehow or another, your notes got mixed up. He said, you don't have cancer, you have a stomach ulcer, and the man who has cancer has just died. And so here is this man convinced in his mind that he had cancer of the stomach, and he was literally dying. And as I've said, he lost all the weight, he couldn't eat, the power of the mind is a tremendous, tremendous thing. So, you know, very often if we're told something is going to happen, we believe it. When people come to see somebody like myself and they're told something, I mean, I can sit here all morning long talking about how people totally believe and totally listen to somebody like me who says, your husband is going to leave you. And so they go home, pack the bag, and they're going to leave before the husband leaves. The power of the mind is a tremendous thing. Is it possible for us to heal ourselves? It is, I believe, but not every one of us can do it. And sometimes if it's an inevitability, we can't avoid the end. But yes, it is very possible, and I've done it myself. If I've had a headache, if I've had backache, if I've whatever, the power of the mind is amazing. It's amazing how people can really, with their attitude as well. We could, maybe this is a subject for tomorrow, Al, talking about with our attitude, we can make things better or we can make things worse. And so, you know, yes, it's possible, not for everyone, of course, but it is possible for people to give healing to themselves. I think when they're talking in the Bible about people healing themselves, I think they're talking about healing of the spirit much more than they're talking about the healing of the physical self. When we give healing, first and foremost, in my group, in my team, I teach my healers to give healing to the spirit, to the soul, first and foremost, because very often once the soul is healed, once the soul, the light, the spirit, the energy of the soul is healed and becomes brighter and brighter, it can permeate through the body, and miracles can happen. And I've been a part of some miracles, many miracles actually, and I have witnessed many miracles. People who you never thought would ever get out of their bed will get out of the bed. They'll literally rise up and walk. You know, don't, just because somebody tells you something is going to happen does not necessarily mean that it does. Remember, you know, when people put little seeds in our head, and this is why I say to people, if you go to seek out somebody like me, remember, little seeds can be dangerous things. People can plant a little seed in your mind, and before you know it, it's got sprouted into an enormous tree, or very often it's sprouted into an enormous weed that can strangle you. It can strangle all your good thoughts. It can strangle all of your good energy. So remember, positive thinking and healing positively really, really does work. And we might talk more about that tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's New York time. Michelle, let's have another question, shall we?
Okay, well,
You didn't expect me to go on and on like that,
no,
did
it
you?
was
With
okay.
that
It
one
worked.
little question.
No, it worked for me because I shared it all on all the Facebook and Twitter.
Okay, all right, great, good. All right then. Hey, she's so good, this girl. Go on.
RN says good morning and hello.
Good morning, RN.
And then she wants to know if she may have a reading and if she's going to lose 7 pounds in a week. That's Charius.
All right. If you'd like a consultation, of course, email the office, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, and you can certainly set up a consultation with me. Absolutely. Will you lose 8 pounds in weight in a week? Let me think. Without even using my psychic powers, I can tell you if you don't eat, you'll lose the 8 pounds, or maybe close to. But if you keep eating, you won't. It's as simple as that. So, but yes, if you'd like a consultation, by all means, email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, where we do set up our consultations. And Michelle is the one to do that. So email and talk to Michelle, and she'll tell you all about it. Right. Are you laughing, Michelle? She's right then. All right. Shall we have another question?
Okay, the next question that we have is from Monique.
Good morning, Monique. I'm thinking, I've got this in my head. I'm thinking I could do to lose 8 pounds. Maybe not 8.
We can work on it next week. We'll diet
next week. We'll both, Michelle and I will both diet with you, RN, next week. How about that? If you go on a diet, we'll go on a diet.
Mm-hmm.
If I eat much less, I'll be withering away to nothing. But anyway, she says, there is chicken salad in the fridge today.
There is. I saw that.
Let's have our next question.
Okay, Monique wants to know, do my
Good morning,
parents have
Monique.
any guidance for me on something I have been struggling with the last year and a half?
I don't know. But I'm surprised actually, Monique, because Grey Eagle is here, as I said first thing this morning. Grey Eagle is here with us, and he has a message for you, surprisingly. Now, remember, I don't know you, don't know anything about you, so I hope you do understand this message. He's usually pretty accurate about these things, much more so than I am, actually. But he really feels that the issue is not with the issue. The issue is with your indecisiveness. It's almost as if you're trying to hold, this is the way he's putting it to you, Monique. It's almost as if you're holding on to something because you're afraid to let go and you're afraid to move forward. I'm just making sure I've got this right, this message right. You're afraid to move forward. And, and we often do that, don't we? We often cling to, we talked last week a little bit about fear, and the fear of letting go. It can sort of hold us and keep us in place when we know really in our heart of hearts that we should actually move forward. So I feel that, my darling, the issue is not with the situation. The issue is with your making up your mind and making a decision. So here is another little piece of advice for you. I'm sure that your parents are watching you, and I'm sure they're trying to help and guide you. Of course, they can't do much, can they, for you if you don't listen to them. So you need to listen a little bit for that. But when you are ready to make the change, you will know it inside of you. Don't allow the fear to hold you back from doing it. If you feel inside of you this need to make a change, then that's when it's the right time to do it. Never be afraid of letting go, because those people and the situation around you, once you let go of it, if it's meant to be for you, it will hold on to you. if it's not meant to be, you are free then to pursue whatever it is that you want to get on with. And don't ever be afraid of the future, because the future is what you make it. And everything, after all, as Al knows, is attitude. All right, let's have our next question. And I hope you understand that, Monique, that message.
The next comment is actually from Sylvie.
Good morning, Sylvie. And a comment. I love comments. Let's have a comment. It better be a nice one. Okay, let's have a comment.
She said she just lost a very loved boyfriend.
Oh, all right. Is that it?
That's all it says.
Sylvie, darling. I know from the way you're saying this and putting out that message that you're very, very sad. I do feel Greg was hand on my shoulder here, so I do know that what I'm saying to you is absolutely right. You're not on your own, my love, and your loved ones in the spirit world are gathering around you, especially at this time. So keep that chin up. Keep that chin up. Know that you're not alone. And, loss of any kind is a person's loss. And some people might think, well, it's not the worst kind of a loss, but loss of any kind. Your pain is your pain. We're going to be sending you healing, Sylvie. I'm going to put you on my healing list. I'm just going to put down Sylvie, and I'm going to put down for healing for heartbreak. And even as I'm talking to you, Michelle's making little notes. So we're going to put you on our healing list. We're going to send you healing every day. Keep chatting to us, Sylvie. Keep watching. I'm sure this will be very helpful to you. Let's have another question, Michelle, shall we?
Suraj, I believe is the name. It's Souraj.
Okay. We don't always know how to say the words, the name, but we have a good shot. Suraj, whatever that is. Anyway, whoever you are, we welcome you. And what's the question, Michelle?
It says, would you happen to know anything about Claire's Alliance?
To what?
Claire's Alliance. It's ClairSalliance.
No, Claire's Alliance. No, I don't. I don't know anything about it. We don't know what you're talking about, darling. Not only can we not pronounce your name properly, but we don't understand what it is you're talking about. However, we'd love to know a little bit more if you'd like to tell us. And if you could put it into, send us an email. I'm being corrected by my new assistant who's telling me how to do my show. It's a good thing we can laugh, isn't it? Yeah, you could send us an email, or you could even sort of just put a comment in here now, and if we have time we can take a look at it. But no, I don't. So I'm fascinated. I'm always fascinated by new things and new ideas, and please, I know there are a lot of people around the world who think that I am all knowing and all seeing, and it is absolutely not true. I don't know, when I think of the universe, I can think of all of the knowledge of the universe. The little knowledge that I have is even, smaller than my teeny little tip of my little fingernail. Let's have another question, shall we?
Okay, Gabriella has a question.
Good morning, Gabriella.
She says, I have found a religious stamp at a bus stop. Because of the strange of it, I know someone from the spirit world sent it, and it's from my grandpa's family.
Oh.
Just to know who, I believe is her question. Do you know who it was?
I don't, but what a wonderful gift. And I think anyway. So you're asking me a question you already know the answer to. But, we get gifts from the spirit world all the time. And, the Native Americans had this wonderful idea, which I believe is actually very true. They always talked about with my spirit guide, Greg, would always talk about the tiny winged creatures. And those tiny winged creatures are things like butterflies, dragonflies, birds. Of course, I've got my eagles, not quite so tiny, but nevertheless. And, often we'll get a bird tapping at the window, or we'll have a butterfly flying around us, or people are very fond of dragonflies, and often our family or people in the spirit world, it's almost as if, which I think in some ways they do, they whisper into the wind, or they whisper into the air and a message, or they whisper their love or what have you, and these tiny winged creatures will take that whisper and take that energy and bring it to us from our family. So it's almost as if we're getting a message from our family. It makes me laugh sometimes, because people will often say to me, I saw a butterfly and I know that's my dad. They don't really mean that their dad has transformed into a butterfly. What they really mean is that that their dad has sent that butterfly to them to say, I'm okay. And this is what happens, because whispers on the wind are very, very important, and those tiny winged creatures will often bring us those messages. They'll bring us that love, they'll bring us that particular energy. So I love it that you have something that is physical that has appeared at your feet, if it came actually from the spirit world. I think we mentioned this before. Physical gifts from the spirit world are called apports, APPORTS. I know that you're amazed by my wisdom and my knowledge. You are, aren't you? No, you are. But I do know a lot of things. And apports are extremely rare, but nevertheless, they are gifts from the spirit world, and we do get them from time to time. I've had maybe 2 in 40 something years, that's extra special, I have to tell you, because so many people never actually get an apport. But we do get gifts. We find feathers at our feet, or we find pennies, or we get a dragonfly who'll buzz in our ear, or we get a butterfly who'll flutter around us, and so on. We get our little birds who will come tapping at our window, bringing a message from the spirit world. Remember, our tiny winged creatures, they carry those whispers, that energy from our loved ones in the spirit world. They carry those whispers to us and bring us the love of our families. So I think that's what you've got there, love from your family. Let's have our next.
Twiggy Leaf said an apport. So she knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. Good morning, Twiggy.
All right. Timmery.
Timmery. Nice name, Timmery. Yeah.
Says, hi, good
morning.
day.
Good morning.
I heard the spirit realm has 7 levels. May I know which level I am at, and is there anything else I should work on in my spirituality?
Timmery, I do love the question. However, I do not necessarily accept the 7 levels. Having said that, if this is your belief and this is what you feel and this works for you, I am not the one to dispel those ideas for you. If it works for you and this idea works for you, by all means. The universe and the many, many universes that are out there pose many opportunities. There are many, many places that we can visit. The idea of 7 levels, I do believe, it's a very human concept and comes from people who like structure. So I actually don't think you're on any one of those 7 levels. I think you're in exactly the place you should be in. Have I any advice for you to enhance your spirituality? Kindness, gentleness, even in as the Native Americans would say, as the Apache would say, as my spirit guide would say, in your own home, in your own teepee, is what he would say. Walk softly and speak gently. You may actually have to go out there and fight a battle, and you may have to raise your sword arm a few times, and you may have to sometimes shout when you're out there fighting for whatever it is you need to fight for. But in your own home, walk softly and speak gently. Now, just let's take a look at that for a minute, because there's so many of us, we have a bad day, we have a tough day, we're so busy having to be nice in the workplace to our work colleagues, and somebody's driving us crazy, or the phone is ringing and drives us crazy, and what do? We go home and we kick the dog, we throw the cat out, we mean to the kids, or we shout at the wife or the husband, because we take out our frustrations on those we love the most. We take out our frustrations on those who literally, they're right there for us, and we feel that we can shout at them or rage at them simply because we can't do it anywhere else. In your own teepee, in your own home, this is your opportunity to become more spiritual, to become more aware, to become more self-aware. We are in our classes at the moment. Oh boy, have we had a tough time of it this week. I gave my students what I thought was a nice, simple and easy and fun thing to do, which has turned out to be really tough for them, because basically the lesson is about becoming more self-aware. And when we become more self-aware, well, we don't always find things that we like, do we? But then if we're self-aware and we find things that we don't like, then we have the opportunity to change them. So to be more spiritual, to be more loving, to be more kind, as Grey Eagle would say, our world needs gentleness. In your own teepee, in your own home, walk softly and speak gently. And what happens then is the love of your family surrounds you, builds you up, keeps you solid, keeps you grounded, so that going out into the workplace, you have much more energy and you have much more of an ability to handle the tough stuff. We're being very philosophical today. We sort of whispers on the wind, and walking softly and speaking gently and all of that stuff, and kindness. Being very philosophical today. Quite like this, actually. Let's have another question, shall we?
All right. Nat asks.
Good morning, Nat.
It says, "Hi, Rose and dears. Sometimes at night I wake up and see
different things." Is he calling me Rose?
Yes.
Don't do that. It's so upsetting to me. But I do love and appreciate the fact that you've come on and you're asking questions. Here I am berating you. But I'm not a Rose, and I'm not a Rosie. I'm a Rosemary. And that's, and I am a bit of a stickler for it, really. When somebody says to me, my name is Michelle, but everybody calls me Michelle, I'm still going to call her Michelle because I love the name. And anyway, there you go. Yes, I'm so sorry, my darling. What was your question?
So sometimes I wake up at night and I see different things over my head, like lump, vase of flowers. Please tell me what those things are.
Well, when we're in our sleep state, we are, that's the time when we're able to travel. That's the time when we're able to leave our body. And that's the time when actually those in the spirit world are able to come closer to us, to draw closer to us. It could be that you've been off traveling and you've been in someone's kitchen or something, and, where you've got the vase of flowers. I don't quite know what it means. Nevertheless, when you do see these things, write them down. It's always important to write things down. For instance, if it is a vase of flowers that you see, write down, the color of the vase, write down the color of the flowers, etc., because you never know when you might come across those same things on this earth. You might go in somebody's kitchen and see them, and then you'll realize that maybe that's why you're seeing those things. Maybe you were given a message that you were going to go into this person's kitchen, or maybe you went traveling unbeknownst to you and you saw it when you were off traveling. So always, when you've got an itchy nose, does that mean I'm going to be vexed? When you know that, when you see these things and you write them down and you describe them, then you can be aware, and don't ignore things that you see in your dreams. Sometimes it's just a dream, though. Just remember that. Sometimes it's a dream is just a dream. Next question.
The next question is from James.
Morning, James.
Says, can Rosemary have a chat with me sometime, because being a medium is killing me?
Oh,
I just want to go where they have gone. And then a little bit
No,
down.
no, James, you do not. No, no, no. You do not want to go where they've gone. You do not want to do that. Go ahead. A little bit further down, he makes another comment.
It says, can you at least ask Rosemary if she's experienced with some kind of depression with mediumship?
Oh, sure. It's all part and parcel of it, James. All right. Let's. James, I'm having a conversation with you now. All right. So, mediumship it's tough. It's not an easy thing. I can remember being told in the very early days. Excuse me, but I do have an itchy nose, and so anyway. So, the price of good mediumship is sensitivity. You become much more sensitive, much more aware, and then much more prone to being hurt by people not intentionally wanting to hurt you necessarily. You become more sensitive to the pains of the world and to the suffering of the world. And it can really pull you down. It can really draw you down, and it can cause, if you allow it to, it can cause depression. On the other side of the coin, though, all right, as tough as it might be, there is so much joy and so much beauty in the ability not only to talk to those in the spirit world, but also to bring people who are still on this earth plane, being able to unite and to bring them together, and to so everything is attitude, James. So what you need to do is if you can, to work on your attitude a little bit, and rather than thinking of the negatives, and rather than sort of honing in on and holding on to the pains and the difficulties, which of course you accept, and being sensitive, you're absorbing that as well. I mean, there's nothing worse than being in a hospital room with a family who have somebody who is dying. Be very careful, because you can absorb that awful sadness and that awful, feeling of depression there if you're not careful. Just remember, you're there to do a job, and your job is to remind other people that there is a life after death, that there is beauty in those in the spirit world, but there's also beauty in this earth too. And the beauty of somebody putting their arms around someone else and comforting them is beauty indeed. You do not want to go over to the other side. You're not nearly ready enough yet. You have beauty to give to people. You have wonderful energy to give to people. So get, as I would say to my daughter and my grandson and to my students sometimes, could you get a grip? Get a grip. Your mediumship is a beautiful, beautiful gift. So use it positively. I hope I've given you that little kick up the bottom that you need, but also giving you some inspiration as well. Let's have another question, shall we?
We have a comment from Lori about what we were talking about a little earlier.
Good morning, Lori.
She says, I've done it myself. I'm 2.5 years past my best before date, no matter what they say.
Oh, that's not good, Lori. Look, I'm sure I'm older than you, because I'm almost older than everybody, and I am certainly not past my sell-by date. I mean, get a grip here. What's the matter with you people? I'm in the pink today. Let's have positivity and joy and happiness through all of our suffering, through all of the heartache, through all of the pain. There is beauty, but we have to learn to look for it. And if anybody was to suggest that I was past my sell-by date, I'd be offended. Even though when I was walking through the living room today, I went down on my ankle just like that. It was so painful. But I'm getting up, I'm walking, I'm fine. I'm not. Why would I let that destroy my energy? Come on, we can do better than this, surely. Let's have another question.
Dean says,
Good morning, Dean.
Do I need permission to give healing to a person if I'm unable to speak to them? Or is healing just as powerful if the sick person doesn't know it's being sent?
Are you asking do you need permission from me, Dean? Or are you asking, do you need permission from the patient? It's very, very interesting that you should ask this question, because a friend of mine called yesterday to say that she was going to the hospital to visit a friend of hers She has mentioned healing to them before. She has talked about healing, but never, this person has never actually, he said, oh yeah, very nice, but he's never actually shown any real interest. And so she said the same thing to me. When I'm going to the hospital tonight, do I need to ask him his permission? And it's a bit like asking, do I need permission to send love? Do I need permission to love that person? Do I need permission to hold that person's hand or to put my hand somewhere on that person in a comforting manner? Do I need permission to give comfort? The answer is absolutely no. Because when we're sending healing, we're not working on influencing the person. We're not working on changing a person's mind. We're not working on any of that kind of stuff. What we're doing simply is giving our energy over, our loving, healing energy. And that's what we're doing. So no, Dean, carry on regardless. Keep doing what you're doing, my love. Keep doing what you're doing. Let's have another question, shall we?
Lori just made a comment that she beat their time frame, is what she was talking about, her best before date.
Whose time frame?
The doctor's time frame, that she beat it. She's past it. That's what her best before date
Oh,
was.
good for you. Oh, I see. I thought you meant you were better past your sell-by date. We're talking about attitude, and we're talking about energy, and good for you, my darling, because yes, against all the odds, people do. I don't know what's going on around here, but I'm getting very itchy.
I do too.
It's like there's something in the air. Anyway, so Michelle's doing the same thing. It's like, all right. So yes, it is possible to give healing to yourself. It is possible to have that energy. And if somebody says to you something's going to happen and you don't want it to happen, fight it then. Fight it. Let's have another question.
Monique said that your message was received loud and clear.
Oh, good, Monique. Good for you. Now be brave. Now just be brave. There. All right.
Okay. Wanda.
Good morning, Wanda.
Says, I know that my mother is guiding me, but recently I feel that my gifted grandmother is also. I never met her. Does she have any words she wants to share with me?
Is this the Wanda I spoke to yesterday with a daughter? You are such a naughty girl. You're trying to sneak in now and get something else here. I think your message was loud and clear, my darling. You have all of your family watching you, watching over you, and taking care of you. So trust in them. Trust in them, my love. Trust in them. Let's have another question.
Actually, we have a comment, and this is from Hamilton, who just bought the book.
Good morning, Hamilton. Oh, we emailed you this morning. Yes. Okay. Yes.
It says, "Good morning, Michelle and Rosemary. Thank you for hosting me today. I'm grateful we met. I appreciate you and I love you."
Oh, is that it?
That's all it says.
Well, Hamilton, thank you so much. We're looking forward to you explaining all of that other stuff to us as well, which we're not going to go into today, but we do want to know a little bit more about it. Just don't blind us with science, please. Right? We need it in a straightforward sort of down to earth kind of language. If you do that for us, that would be great. Let's have another question. Are there any other questions?
There is. Twiggy Leaf.
Morning, Twiggy.
Says, hello, dear Rosemary. Just a quick question. What does the color orange represent?
All right. So we've talked about energy. We've talked about auras. We've talked about people's energy fields, and each color denotes a certain type of energy. So you can do the basics. All right. You can say blue is the color of healing. It is the universal color of healing. Green is the color of peace. Red is the color of energy. What other colors have we got here? Gold is purity. Purple is indicative of a deep spiritual. understanding within a person. So each color denotes, a certain type of energy. But then remember, there are, in every single color that we're looking at, there are at least a dozen, if not 2 or 3 or 4 dozen even, different shades of a particular color. So when I'm talking about green, and green is the color of peace and calm, I'm talking about a beautiful sort of almost like a leaf green, a lighter green. When you get into the darker or the deeper colors, then it's, less, then it's a less peaceful. But depending on the color, it can be a really rich, beautiful moss green, which is indicative of calm and peace, but also an inner calm and an inner peace. So I'm sort of saying this so people who haven't heard this before have some idea of what it is we're talking about. The color orange is sort of, we're going into the reds and the yellows and the golds. The color orange, again, it's about energy, not as strong an energy as red perhaps, but again, depending on the shade, it can bring energy, it can bring joy. If it's a more yellow orangey color, then it's a more spiritual energy and a spiritual joy. If it's a deeper orange, it's much more about energy. It could be when you see it that it's that you might be needing energy and being given energy. It could be that you have an energy already. So depending on how you see it and where you see it and so on. So each color, you can say this is the general idea, but then each color and each hue with each tone, it can mean something very different. You do, as healers, I'm saying this to Dean because he was talking earlier about giving healing. When you are giving healing to people, or when you are trying to create positive energy within you, when you get to the reds and the oranges, do be careful, will you? Because if you infuse too much of the red energy in someone, thinking that they're lethargic and they need that energy, but if you infuse too much in there, or if you infuse too much red within yourself, you're going to be dancing on the ceiling. It's a little bit like getting a high. You're not smoking a what do they call it, adobe or a doobie or whatever that is. You're not sort of you're not puffing the magic dragon, but giving energy and having that high energy. Michelle is laughing. Why are you laughing?
You're
so
killing
much
me today.
So energy is very powerful. So use the colors reds and oranges to gently and carefully, and certainly with your patients, maybe just a little tiny dot or a little tiny splash is enough. All right, energy can be a powerful thing. The power of the mind is a powerful thing. Just remember that when you're using and creating these colors. Yes, so let's have another question. We're sort of going the gamut here, aren't we? We're talking about so many things today, so many different not subjects, but so many different facets of this one incredible subject that we talk about. Yes, let's have another question.
So Lori had a question, but she also answered her own question. So
All right.
It says, I had a large dark brown and blue butterfly around for 5 days. I cannot figure out who it was from. Any idea? And then it says, never mind. It's my great grandmother on my maternal side that I've never met. As soon as I asked you, I found out.
You see, so often we know the answers within us. We really do. But remember, it is not the butterfly that is your grandmother. It's the butterfly bringing those whispers to you from whoever it is, from your mother, from your grandmother or your great grandmother, whoever it is. Whispers on the wind, and our tiny winged creatures take those whispers and carry them to us. That's what they do. I love that concept, but it is very much a concept that Gregor taught me, and it is very much of the Native American culture. There are so many different ancient cultures, the Chinese and the Japanese and so many wonderful ancient cultures. The ancient Asian cultures can teach us so much. There's so much wisdom, and I remember being at school when I was 14 or 15 years old, being fascinated by the Buddhist religion. So there are so many things in all of these cultures, so many things that we can learn from and that they can teach us without us actually becoming necessarily a Buddhist, or without us actually becoming, whatever it is, or I was going to say a Catholic because I'm not a Catholic, but yet some of the ideas and some of the teachings from all of the different religious beliefs can really teach us something and can be very special. But I'm still coming back to Grey Eagle, who says, in your own teepee, please remember this: walk softly and speak gently. That's another question.
Mm-hmm. We have, I believe it's supposed to be like a Paula, Paola.
Paula, yeah.
Says, hello,
Good
Rosemary.
job. Well done.
I was trying.
Hello, Paula. How are you?
Says, I'd like to ask you if we can ask our guardian angel to be cured from diseases we have and how to ask for it. Thanks a lot. Big hug.
Many, many years ago, I was so young at the time, and I just started learning about healing and started learning about mediumship. That's how far back I'm going, to ancient times. And I was taken to see an old man. He was quite old. He was well into his 80s, and he'd been a healer for, oh goodness, for so many years. And he was just a wonderful guy, and we had a fabulous conversation. And he taught me, we're talking about miracles, and I was asking him, did he believe in miracles? And he said, Rosemary, I've always had this theory. He said, there are miracles abound every day in every way. There are little miracles, and then there are big miracles. And he said, when I'm giving healing to my patients, or when I suggest to my patients that they're able to give healing to themselves, he said, he said, we may not get a miracle, but what's the harm in asking? So if you, my darling, want to ask your guardian angels for healing to be given to you, ask away. Nobody is going to stop you. And if you believe in your angels and if they're listening to you, healing comes in many ways, not necessarily physically, not necessarily a physical cure, but healing can come in the way of healing the soul, bringing energy to the soul, giving so much of ourselves. And, sort of healing comes from within. And we still may have our physical ailments, but we're able to handle them better. We're able to deal with them better. I'm sorry, we've got a huffing and puffing puppy here. Come here, baby. Come on. It's the storms once again. So please, this is for everybody out there. Never be afraid to ask for a miracle. As this old guy, and I don't even remember his name, and I only met him once, but he had a massive impact on me, just simply saying to me, if you have a patient, if you know someone, and you feel that they're in need of a miracle, he says, just ask, because our angels are always listening to us. God is always listening to us. That universal God force is always there, absorbing our energy, absorbing our wishes, our hopes, and our dreams. There is nothing wrong with asking. And if you'd like me to, we certainly can put you down on our healing list, Paula, right? We can put you on our healing list, and we're going to be asking for miracles for you and for whoever it is you need those miracles for. If you'd like to tell us a little bit more about that, you can email me, and all of you out there, you can email me, Rosemary, at rosemaryaltea.com. I will spell Rosemary Altea for you, because you may not know how to spell it. ROSEMARYALTEA. So Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. And you can write and talk to Michelle and tell us about yourself. We'll certainly send you healing. We'll put you on our healing list. And thank you for that question. All right, another question. Do we have anyone else going on out there? We got a whole range of people. Go ahead then.
Miss Penny.
Morning, Miss Penny.
Says, my own angel on this earth is my daughter, Jenny. named after my mom. My angel in heaven is her daddy. Her daddy's birthday is coming up. What can I say to her to bring her peace? She's had a tough life. Her dad passed away when she was 15.
Oh, darlings. Well, I always suggest to people, I don't say this because I'm trying to sell my books, because this one particular book that I'm going to suggest that you let your daughter read has been out there now for at least 22, 23 years. It is a classic. You can still get it in bookstores. If you can't find it, email us and we'll certainly send you a copy. I think a paperback is, what is it, $10 or something? And I mean, you just did it for Hamilton, so not, anyway, it's not expensive. But I'm going to suggest that you give your daughter, first of all, The Eagle and the Rose to read. It is one of the, even though I wrote it, even though I am the author, it honestly is one of the most inspiring, incredible books. It talks about other people, much more than it talks about me. It does talk a little bit about me, but mostly it's other people's stories and other people's experiences with me or through me. But it's a book that is very easy to read, and she can read it, and it will give us some idea of the fact that her father is still very much with her. So you can buy it in paperback. I think there are some we have some hardcovers, but there is also a CD. Yes, My Own Little Voice. So there's a CD, so you can actually plug it in when you're on a journey anywhere in the car, and you can hear it then. If you want to know more about that and you need help to find that, email us rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. I do have a request though from Grey Eagle, and I suspect also from this lovely man that you both love and adore. Could you make a cake and have a little party and celebrate his birthday? Because you'll find he will draw close to you. And, people in the spirit world, they love a celebration. So don't be afraid to celebrate and find joy in the fact that he was alive. Look what he left you. He left you this incredible and beautiful gift, this angel child of yours. Let's have another question.
Okay, so the next actually is a comment from Twiggy. She says, I love the pink. Or no, she says, I do like the pink. I love the pink because I'm a pink.
Yeah.
Nad said, I'm sorry, from now on I will call you Rosemary.
Oh, bless you, Nat.
And the things that she saw were not dreams. I saw them for a second and then they would disappear.
Yeah, I understand. You need to write down and describe what it is that you're seeing, because there's a reason why we see these things. Just remember that. So write down, make a journal, sort of I always say to people who see these things in this way, that if you keep a pad and a pen or a pencil by the side of your bed, so that when you wake up, even if you're groggy, when this happens to you, just jot down the notes. Because, so often we see these things and then, we go back to sleep, and then we wake up in the morning and we only have a vague recollection of what we saw or what we heard. So, try and sort of keep a pad and a pen by your bedside table. Let's have another question.
We have one more comment. Twiggy says, wow, cool, because I've been so sleepy and my bubble has been an orange gold. Neat.
Nice, very nice.
And then we have Mary.
Good morning, Mary.
It says, I'm embarrassed to ask, but since I was 9, I started pulling my hair out. It's called trichotillomania. Does Greg have any advice about that?
Yes, it's actually not it's not so much about the condition, and I don't know why you would feel embarrassed to ask this question. Anybody can ask anything on this show, as long as it's asked in a nice way and politely. We will certainly address the question. What is the name of this?
Mary.
Mary? All right, Mary. So the issue is not so much with what you're doing. The issue is with why you're doing it. I'm going to I'm listening to Great Eagle as I'm talking to you. And I think that when this began for you, it was because there was something that happened. There was a catalyst. There was some trigger to you starting to do this. And I think this is, I know it's a simple thing and an easy thing to say it's anxiety, but I think it goes deeper than anxiety. It goes to not just to anxiety, but I think it's a fear-based thing that you're doing. That doesn't mean that everybody who has this condition, this applies to, but I'm talking to you, Mary. So I think that somewhere prior to this happening, or around the time that this has started to happen to you, there was something that was going on that you're obviously a very sensitive person. You're obviously a very loving person. And as you all know, I do not believe it's possible to be oversensitive or too sensitive. I think people who say the problem with you is that you're too sensitive are those people who are completely insensitive. But we have to learn with our sensitivity, we have to learn to understand it and to not be afraid of the sensitivity. Unfortunately, sensitivity makes us hurt more and it causes us much more pain than a person who is less sensitive. But I think that this is something that is a little bit fear-based and anxiety-based, but also with a healthy dose of fear. And I think that that fear is innate within you. If you would like to have some healing, if you'd like to talk to me, email us rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, we don't have time to go into this as much, but I'll certainly talk to you, my darling, if you'd like some help with it. Let's have another question.
Francesca,
Good morning.
she says, good morning. I have always had a different way of looking me around. Now, after a tar dive pregnancy and a very hard period, my sensations are growing. I'm afraid to misinterpret my emotions.
Well, that's really good. I'm glad that you're afraid because it means you keep things in check. So, when you're feeling all of these deep emotions, the only way to handle it, it seems that you're doing really well, is to step back and to sort of step back from what is going on and to try and look at it. Always apply common sense, my darling. Because sometimes when we're feeling these emotions, we get out of control and things get worse and trigger, and we can make things worse by just allowing our emotions to sort of have their own way and to become out of control. So I think you're doing a good job in first of all understanding that you could easily misinterpret your emotion, step back from it and just try and apply common sense and take each thing at a time and try to apply reason to it. If you're having a struggle, email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. We'll see what we can do to help. Any other questions? Do we have anything else going on here?
Well, apparently we missed the second part of Dean's question.
Oh, Dean, sorry.
It says the second part of my question was, is healing more powerful if the person it is intended for knows I am sending it?
No, healing is healing. And it's not coming from us, remember. We are combining our healing energy. We are combining our energy with that God force, with that powerful universal healing energy that is out there, which will work whether or not the patient knows that it's happening. We just throw it out there. God sees to the rest of it. And, obviously when people do know that they're getting healing, they can be in some ways more responsive. But that does not necessarily mean that physically that it works better or worse, whether somebody knows. So go for it, Dean. Sorry to miss that question. Do we have anything else? Anybody else?
Penny says, thank you so much. Tears of happy tears. And then she responds with, let them eat cake.
Love the what?
Let them eat cake.
Oh, yes, of course, yes.
Crystal has a question. She says, what can I do to help myself not be so affected by the energies of the moons? It feels like every month just snacking in the middle of a new moon ending and a full moon about to be, I wake up sad.
Yeah. You know, if I had not had a father-in-law who was definitely moonstruck, I'm not sure that I would quite understand. Well, not sure that I would quite understand, but we know that the moon affects the tides. We know that, you know, when it's a full moon, the tide changes or doesn't, or whatever that is. Anyway, I'm sort of getting it scientifically wrong. However, we do know that the moon affects so much of the earth and the power of the earth and the energy of the earth. And of course, it's very possible and very likely that there are some of us who are also going to be affected by that energy. My suggestion, my darling, to you is when you know that you know it's going to be a full moon, or when you know that the moon is whatever it is, waxing or waning, when you know that there is that likelihood, whichever phase of the moon you are affected by most, then you need to have a mantra, you need to work on your energy, and you need to create a powerful and a positive energy, positive energy to combat that you know, the universal energy that is out there and does affect us all. My father-in-law would literally change character, you know, just prior to the full moon or whenever it was. I know it sounds really weird. It sort of sounds like a bit like those, you know, those vampire movies and all that. But it is very true that the moon, if the moon can affect tides, it can certainly affect us. It's not the moon per se, it's the energy as the moon moves through the universe. It's that powerful energy. Do another question. We have run the gamut today.
Here's a comment. The tinfoil hatter says, hey, I just noticed you've got Betty Davis eyes.
I do. Wow. Well, I'm going to, you know, I love Betty Davis, actually. I don't think she was necessarily a pretty woman or an attractive woman, but of all of the movie stars, of all of the actors and actresses there are in the world or who have ever been, I do have to tell you that she is, for me, the greatest actress of all time and probably will remain so. She was amazing. I'm going to take that as a compliment. Thank you. All right.
Hamilton has a question.
Yeah.
It says, Rosemary, how soon will our asset get monetized?
Okay. You're far too deep for me. I don't even understand the question, Hamilton, but I do love that you asked the question. We are moving on. Do we have any more questions or comments very quickly, because we are coming to time?
We just have a few comments. Dean says, thank you for the answers. I knew the answers but wanted confirmation.
That's all right.
Mayra says, my mama gave me your second book as a gift. Feeling the lucky.
Oh. Hi, Myra. Thank you.
Crystal says, thank you.
You're welcome, Crystal.
And Penny says, I used to dreadful my husband could be such a pill every time. Now I chuckle inside thinking about it.
Walk softly. Speak gently in your own teepee. Not an easy thing to do, is it? But we do try. Anything else?
Connie says,
oh gosh, Connie, good morning.
Oh my gosh, I have the TV on but muted as I listen to this, an old movie channel. I glance at it as you're discussing Betty Davis,
really?
And there she was.
Really? Whoa. Amazing. We love it when that happens, don't we? See, I think it's called synchronicity. Yes, it is synchronicity. Yeah. And by the way, my grandson does have my eyes too, and my daughter actually. But anyway, so there's you know, we hopefully inherit the good stuff. Not always though, do we? Is there anything else going on in there?
There is one last one, and it says it's from Alongi, Alongi.
We're hoping we're saying it right, but it spells as if it's Alongi or Alongi. whatever.
It
Anyway.
says, "Hey there. Do
Hi.
you have any messages from my father and relatives in heaven?"
No, but I'm sure they're fine, and I'm sure they're with you. And so with that note, we are going to wind up. Can I say thank you to everyone for joining us? Michelle, whoa, you did a brilliant job. She's getting better every week. So thank you for that. She did a really brilliant job. We've lost Al. He had to disappear. He's got builders in and all that. So he had to disappear. We
Actually,
didn't-
still
are you
here. Yes, still there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so thank you, Al. We apparently didn't need you this morning. I didn't try to interrupt you because I knew you were busy, but thank you for joining us. Also, thank you to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, my darling little puppy who's huffing and puffing. I'm going to go and give him something sort of to take his mind off. It might be a little bit of chicken or something. You never know. I'm going to take his mind off the storm. Thank you all for joining us. We shall be with you again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my co-host Al Pisano. Say bye, Al.
Goodbye, everyone.
Of course, we shall be back again next week. My students, we have a new class and a new lesson tonight. Ho, 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 ho. And you should have a copy of what that lesson is. So get on the Facebook page and get reading before you come on tonight. What else have we got to say? Michelle is going away with her husband for a wonderful weekend. So we're wishing her a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'm so jealous. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend, but I'm sure I'm going to find something good to do at some point. Maybe some cooking or something. Anyway.
Yummy.
So she's saying, oh, yummy. She's hoping she gets the benefit of it when she comes back next week. So until I see you all again, thank you, all of you, for joining. We've had some great questions. I hope you've enjoyed the answers. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to know any more about consultations, books, the new book, which is A Walk in the Clouds. If you can't find it, email us, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com, and we shall actually let you have all of that information and more besides until I see you all again next time. Please, you all know what I'm going to say, don't you? Please, please, please. Yes. Got to find that little, there it is. Please, please, please have a very, very blessed day and a really wonderful weekend.